Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We're also on Facebook pages Mac Sports and Northeast Streaming Sports. We're on our own YouTube channel, so if you could, please like and subscribe to that. We're also on Zodiac TV, Jack, most days of the week. A great little TV network out there. We have our website at nessp.info. Check it out. We have shows, information, guests, stores, and links. I'm Mac with your co-host, Jack Hurst, legendary boxing writer and former president of the Boxing Writers Association of America, bringing you national sports with special focus on the Northeast professional sports from New York, Boston, and Philly. Good morning, Jack. How's it going down there in Florida?
Good morning, Mac. Fine. I just thought we never go through the motions, you and I. We're not like the ball player that jogs down to first base. I mean, we're always hustling. We always show enthusiasm out there. Is it false hustle? Is it real hustle? I think it's real hustle, even though once in a while I might not care for a topic and I might have to super motivate myself to get up. But we're always hustling, Mac. That's a good thing about you and I.
Definitely, Jack. We try to bring as much enthusiasm as we can without being over enthusiastic and giving you fake enthusiasm. Good morning, Tom. I'm glad you could join us today. As I said, we're on a lot of places right now, Jack. On the network, on our Facebook page. I mean, we're just all over the place, and I'm enjoying meeting all these new people that are coming on board and making comments and asking questions. So again, good morning, Tom. So, Jack, as you know, every Friday we do our NBA review. And we do that because, you know, every Wednesday we do an MLB review. Every Thursday we do our NHL review. And we set aside, wrong one, guys, wrong one. Let's try it again. There you go. Thank you very much. So, every Friday we do our NBA review, where we take a little better look at the NBA. We go through the standing, the scores, any news that I find. And, of course, Jack, as you know, in the West, the Jazz are still leading the West over there, 44-15. The Suns are 2 games back, followed by the Clippers, Denver Lakers, Portland, Dallas. And so Dallas beat the Lakers, Jack, though, 115-110, even with Davis being back.
Well, Anthony Davis was rusty. He didn't play that much, Max. So just the idea Anthony Davis was back on the court feeling well, that was the main thing. That was a victory for the Lakers in itself.
Yeah, I agree. He had 4 points in 17 minutes. So, I mean, listen, again, I think if the Lakers, if Anthony Davis and of course LeBron are healthy, they're of course one of the favorites in the West. But I don't know if they got it wrapped up or not, Jack. I think they got a lot of teams, maybe 4 teams that could win that. The Jazz, you could throw, of course, the Clippers in there, the Lakers, and you also got Denver, you got Phoenix Suns, maybe even too, Jack. That's another team you might want to consider.
Well, it's interesting. LeBron James hasn't played with Anthony Drummond yet, and what does Anthony Drummond mean for the Lakers? I mean, he's a vacuum cleaner as far as rebounds go. I mean, just a phenomenal rebounder. but he does slow the offense down somewhat. And with Anthony Davis, a flexible big man who runs well, but nevertheless is more of a post play, as is Drummond. What's it going to mean for the Lakers? I mean, they're going to be offensively, they're going to bring the ball down the court a bit slower, than before with Drummond in there. And I thought they were well off with Marc Gasol had they given him a full shot, the Lakers. But Gasol now with Drummond there, he doesn't even play some games. I mean, it's amazing. And a big man of his talent who could really help a contending team is stuck on the bench for the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, Jack. I mean, the spacing is going to be different. I guess Anthony Davis can shoot from outside with the best of them. Maybe defensively, he's underneath the boards more. But I agree with you. The spacing is going to be important when Drummond's in there and they're all in there. And Gasol is a very explosive guy underneath the basket. I mean, and he's a lot more quick. That's for sure.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it's mouth-watering to think had Anthony Davis stayed with the New Orleans Pelicans, him and Zion Williamson together, what that could have meant for the franchise. I mean, I know New Orleans got a lot of nice chips in that trade, so I'm not saying it's worked out poorly for them, even though the Pelicans haven't been good at all, and the Lakers have won a championship, so obviously the Lakers have gotten the better the deal, at least thus far. But it's really mouth-watering to think two young talents like that, Davis and Williamson, together on the same team, and then you build around them. I mean, you could have had a potential dynasty there.
That's a good point. I don't know if they would have drafted Zion though if they had Davis, Jack. I mean that's almost the same position that both of them are playing. I think they're both playing power forward. So I don't even know if they would have drafted Zion if they kept Davis.
Well, they would have drafted Zion. Would they have been in position? There are a lot of different intangibles, but sometimes we like to fantasize about certain things that could have happened. Look, with the Cleveland Cavaliers, if LeBron James doesn't leave to go to Miami, the Cleveland Cavaliers don't have the worst record in the league, so they don't get to draft Kyrie Irving. Meaning that if LeBron James ever came back to Cleveland, they don't win an NBA championship because they don't have the personnel. So there's like this effect, that builds up. One move affects another move. And let's talk happy here, Mac. Let's talk the Knicks. The 8-game winning streak in a row. I mean, let's have some happy talk.
We will.
Not hypothetical nonsense. Let's talk reality here. I'm juiced up about the Knicks. 8 in a row. Excited, Mac.
That's of course news we're going to talk about as we get into the East. The 76ers and the Nets are tied at 39-20. The Bucks in third. The Knicks, with 8 wins, as you said, are in fourth. Atlanta, Celtics, Heat, and Charlotte. In the games, New Orleans beat the Magic, as you were speaking about, 135-100. The Spurs beat Detroit 106-91. The Bulls beat Charlotte 108-91. So 106-91. Yeah, 108-91. 2 91s. The Celtics 99-86 over the Suns. You had Kemba Walker with 32 points, Tatum with 15 points and pulled down 11 rebounds. The Bucks beat the Sixers without Simmons, 124-117. Embiid gets 24 points, but Giannis got 27 and 16 rebounds. Now, Embiid says there's no doubt he's the MVP, Jack, but he's more focused on a championship.
It seems Embiid is more focused on individual honors. A week ago, he comes out and says on his own he feels he deserves to be Defensive Player of the Year. All along, he keeps saying, I deserve to be MVP. I mean, everyone sees your performance, Joel. Everyone sees your performance. They know what you're doing this year. You don't have to announce, I think I'm the MVP. You're not running for some political office like saying, vote for me, okay, over there. I mean, if the Sixers don't get to the finals, the year's been a bit of a disappointment, really. I mean, and Milwaukee sent out a bit of a message yesterday. It's easy to say, well, Ben Simmons was out. It wouldn't have made a difference. I was watching the game. Milwaukee got off to a great start. Milwaukee was in control all the way. The 7-point margin at the end of the game wasn't reflective of Miami's dominance throughout the game because the Sixers were never really in it. They were flat throughout the night. And Tobias Harris was in there too. So Simmons was the only one of their big three that were missing. And the Sixers knew it was a statement game for Milwaukee. Milwaukee sent out a gentle message to the Sixers and the Nets saying, everyone's talking about you, but don't forget about us. We're not conceding anything. And keep this in mind. Last year, going into the playoffs, Miami was favored to come out of the East and get to the finals. It didn't happen for them. They got upset. But maybe we're forgetting the threat Miami represents.
You mean Milwaukee, right? Okay.
Milwaukee.
Right.
What did I say? The threat?
Miami. But anyway, Miami went.
Miami gives a little bit of a threat, but I'm not as high. Somehow Jimmy Butler, and I didn't even mean to say Miami, doesn't seem to be playing with the same enthusiasm he did last year. And Jimmy Butler, reports are coming out that he kind of misses Philadelphia, that maybe he wouldn't mind going back there. Just some rumors because his buddy, Joel Embiid and him are very close. You put Butler back on that Sixer team. Can you see at the end of the year a deal being made if the Sixers don't win it, Mac? Tobias Harris for Jimmy Butler, some type of deal. I could see a deal like that making some sense because Butler, he has a little bit of a track record. He was with the Chicago Bulls. He eventually wanted out. He was with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He really pushed the issue to get out. Then he went to the Philadelphia 76ers. Now with the Miami Heat. That's his fourth team. And when a player's as talented as Jimmy Butler, and you're on 4 teams already and you're at the peak of your career, you kind of wonder, is the player not forcing the issue to go elsewhere?
Yeah, I agree with that, Jack. And, the teams start getting wise to that, too. And they start saying, well, how long before you want out of here, too? So, yeah, I guess I could see that. I think Harris is a very solid player. I mean, he's probably third in the top 3 over there. But, man, he has some big nights. I don't know if I would, just because of the personality alone, I don't know if I would make that trade. If you could add him in some way, maybe. But trading Harris, who's pretty much been a rock all year for him, I don't know if I would even entertain that. But you never know.
Miami, he's going to get a good return for Jimmy Butler. I don't think Jimmy Butler is going to be with Miami next year unless, for whatever reason, the Heat can't pull off a deal. But they're not going to be stagnant, the Heat, this year. If they get eliminated in the first or second round of the playoffs, they're definitely going to want some movement in the big time. The Celtics, who, another team we forget about, they got Jabari Parker, who was a, second overall draft pick, a few years ago, who's been injured a lot of the time. Sometimes you get a guy like that and you catch lightning in a bottle because his career's been a disappointment because he's been hurt. Or maybe he hasn't applied himself. And all of a sudden he puts it together and he's the player you thought he would be coming out of college. And now you benefit because you get him, basically for a bag of chips. Yep. So it could be a really interesting move for the Celtics.
I definitely agree with that, Jack. I mean, the Celtics aren't, like you said, aren't being talked about, but they're playing some really, really good basketball right now.
Kemba Walker, 34 points last night, season high. Yep. So seems like they're putting it together a little with Celtics. I
agree with that. And speaking of that, though, the games, the NBA ranked 7 through 10 will be playing in the tournament, the play-in tournament, May 18th to the 21st. And, of course, they're already talking about the NBA draft coming up in 29 July, but there's plenty of time to talk about that. So, I mean, I was looking at some – you mentioned the Knicks, and, of course, Keith will be on, and we'll really get into that about the Knicks, winning the 8 in a row. And, our man there, that has been playing lights out all year, has moved up in the power rankings as far as people talking about him. Randall, believe it or not, was number 1 in the power rankings this week, ahead of Curry. So the man's been doing it all year. He's a rock. To me, he's a MVP in the MVP discussion. He doesn't go out and politicize this. He doesn't talk about it, Jack. He just keeps playing and keeps that team going.
There's something to be said about being a leader, and Julius Randle's been a great leader this year. But let's say hypothetically you put Julius Randle on a lot of other NBA teams, he wouldn't have this leadership role. Let's say you put him on the Nets between Harden, Durant, Irving, he'd just be another guy amongst a few of them. He wouldn't be looked at as being a leader. You put him on the Sixers with Embiid and Harris and Simmons, he wouldn't quite be considered the leader. You put him on the Miami Heat, he wouldn't quite be considered the leader. They look towards Jimmy Butler. You give him a young team like the Knicks, he's in a leadership role. He thrives in it on and off the court. It's a perfect fit for him. My fear, if I have any, he could be the next version of Amari Stoudemire, who is a terrific player for the Knicks. Then Carmelo Anthony joins the Knicks, and Amari Stoudemire gets hurt, and the wheels fall off the love affair. But what Julius Randle's reminding me of now is what happened with Amari Stoudemire when he first came to the Knicks. A similar type thing. You hope it lasts. You hope the Knicks kind of build with Julius Randle, get a player to his caliber. But you kind of wonder, Mac, is Julius Randle enough of a true star that he can recruit another star to join his team the way LeBron has recruited, Anthony Davis, for example? You kind of wonder, about that.
I think it all depends on what happens this year, Jack. I think he could recruit a mid-level star. I don't know about a superstar, but I think it would be better for the Knicks to have a mid-level star to keep Randle in that leadership position. That's all they really need. I mean, if you look at him, Randle right now, and he's got some pieces around him, not a lot of pieces, but he's got some around him that make them competitive. I mean, I don't know if a superstar would help the team or not. If they got somebody, that is almost there, almost at that level, I think that would help the Knicks. And, I agree with you. I don't think he would be a leader on those teams you mentioned, but he might be a leader on the Hawks. He might be a leader on the Celtics. I mean, these teams that are right there at the cusp, I think he could be a leader on because of the way he plays.
No, not with Jaylen Brown, not with Brown, Tatum, Walker with the Celtics. It wouldn't be the same. Randle, to focus with the Knicks. When the Knicks come into town to play another team, they're on the road. You look at the star player of who the visiting team is, and you look towards Julius Randle now with the Knicks.
Right.
I mean, he is the guy on the Knicks, clearly. Okay? Barrett's second fiddle to him, which is fine, so on. But the ceiling of the Knicks, that's what I'm looking at. The way they're constructed now, you get the feeling that Tom Thibodeau is milked them for all they're worth. He's maximized their potential, Coach Thibodeau. He really has. They can't be much better than what they are now. And they have to be better than what they are now to seriously contend for a championship. I mean, they're playing great, but does anyone really believe they're going to beat the Nets 4 out of 7, beat the Sixers 4 out of 7? Realistically, that's just not going to happen in those playoff series. And I don't want to hear, well, they could extend them, give them a real good series, take it to 6 games. But that's the Knicks' ceiling right now, which is fine for this year because the Knicks have overachieved this year. This year's been an absolute pleasure if you're a Knicks fan because for the first time, Mac, in years and years, the Knicks are relevant. The Knicks are fun to watch. We're talking about the Knicks, okay? We're actually talking about them. We're looking at the box score. We wonder what's next for the Knicks, okay? But is it going to get better than that? Are we going to talk in terms that are the Knicks a championship caliber team? And they've got to get another impact player, maybe through free agency, maybe like a Damian Lillard type, for that to become any type of reality.
Yeah, I agree with that too, Jack. I thought they should have made a move this year, but they might have lost a couple players in the process. I think a lot hinges on Quickly. Quickly has finally started playing close to what they thought he would, along with Derrick Rose. When they're both in there, they're lights out together. They're like matching each other with 15 to 20 points each a game. So they're working something with Quickly. I don't know if Quickly, he's a rookie. I don't know if he can take that next step next year and actually become a starter. That we'll have to wait and see. But they definitely have to pick up a veteran, Jack.
Quickly's been very erratic this year. I mean, he showed signs of wonderful potential. I'm not a believer yet. I'm far from a believer when it comes to Quickly. Really, he reminds me in a sense of Dennis Smith, who is a rookie, is really, really good with the Dallas Mavs. Then he came to the Knicks, wasn't so much. Maybe Quickly is going to become a very good player in the NBA, but he's been erratic, really. I mean, he'll have a good shooting night, but he won't get rebounds, won't get assists. His defense is going to be, so-so. And like I said, I mean, the jury's still out on Quickly. I mean, we don't give up on guys like that, but you kind of wonder if the Knicks are going to get an impact player. And another team likes Quickly. They like his potential. They like Obi Toppin's potential. Perhaps, it might be wise to package a deal to get, the right player in return.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely hear that. So, like I said, we'll get into that more with Keith when he comes on because he covers the Knicks as part of his show a lot. In college, Jack, they have the rules oversight panel. They're going to do a 2-point shootout in overtime that will alternate the plays until the winner is determined in the third overtime instead of the fifth overtime. So they're trying to speed up the college game so they don't go 5 overtimes is what I'm reading into this. It's still, to me, I don't understand why we got to have 3 or 5 overtimes. I think they should be able to get it over within 1 overtime if you're going to have overtime, Jack.
Mac, I'm sick of these rule changes. Major League Baseball starts with extra innings, putting a guy at second base. They should have just played 1 more inning and then done a home run derby format if they wanted to. At least that would be fun, watching which team could hit more homers, because we all love the long ball. Okay, and now college, the NFL with their onside kicks, they're trying new rules. The New Jersey rule, Tom Brady's complaining he doesn't know who's going to have on which jersey. It's going to create confusion. They're doing that. And now college basketball. Since when do college basketball games last too long, Mac? I never thought they lasted that long, and they're having a rule thing to speed it up.
This is for college football, Jack.
College football.
The 2-point conversion they're going to use. And again, I don't know.
Mac, just a little less commercials. Have them come in and off the field. Move the play clock up from, 45 seconds to 30 seconds. Just speed the darn game up. Just go quicker. It's the same way with baseball. Put a pitch clock on the pitcher. Listen, a fighter gets knocked down in boxing. He has 10 seconds to get up, and he's been hurt badly. Otherwise, the fight's over. When the pitcher gets the ball back, give him 10 seconds to get ready on the mound, get set. I don't want to hear the pitcher kick a little dirt off the rubber. The batter steps out of the batter's box. He knocks a pebble out of his spikes and all that nonsense. I mean, just speed the darn game up, to the point. I mean, I'm sick of these rule changes in all the sports. You like them, Mac. I don't. You feel it's good for sports, don't you?
Not at all, Jack. You know the truth of that.
You like old school stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I still think they should be able to put the quarterback on his butt every time they hit him. No problem with me. I love that stuff. So anyway, Jack, backstage right now. Last week, folks, he wasn't with us. He was tending to some personal business and flying around the country. World traveler Byron Williams will be coming up here. We got him backstage right now. Byron, as you know, former NFL wide receiver, played in the World Football League, played in the Canadian Football League, more famous for being one of the Giants' best wide receivers, just as they were building that Super Bowl team. So let's bring up Byron and see what's going on. How you doing today, Byron?
Doing good. How you guys
Good.
doing?
See, he's always so calm when he comes on too, Jack. See, you can't shake this man. This man has nerves of steel. You know what I'm saying?
Well, okay. I mean, I'm treading lightly right now. I want to hear what Byron has to say. I'm kind of counter-punching today.
Oh,
You know,
geez.
I'll hear what he has to say about the draft and all that. And yeah. What about
Sound
these
like
new
a
Byron? I was just complaining to Mac. Tom Brady was complaining, actually, and I kind of agreed. What's with this uniform change? It's confusing because a quarterback can have the ball and he has to process in his head who's who all of a sudden. Just so that, are they doing this just so the players could look good, you know, and feel good about the uniforms they have on?
Well, I think it's gonna bring more fun, more excitement, more creativity. And you know, when you start off playing football, flag football, you get all these different numbers. So I think it's gonna add a little bit more excitement to the game, a little bit more fun, get the fans involved. You know, it'll be great to have a kid that wore number 1 when he was in Pee Wee football. He could play, have it in high school, have it in college, and then have it in the NFL. So I think that's going to bring a little bit more dynamic touch to the game. And I think it's exciting that they got, you know, 1 for 49 from certain position that you can wear the numbers and all that type of stuff. So I think it's going to make the game more excitement.
Is that's what you think? Okay, I guess it was. Hey, listen, I don't know how you can make
They need that to make football more exciting. I think football might be starting to slip. I mean, if they need to add that. I mean, it could be the game itself.
Well, if I look at it, you know, like I wore number 3 in high school. I wish I could have worn number 3 in college. No, I just love the number 3. So some guys are attached to numbers. So I mean, if I could have worn a number, it would have been number 8 because I'm the 8th child out of 10. So yeah, you know, I just think that would be something that's more meaningful for somebody, you know, when they first start out, that, you know, this is my number, I'm attached to this number. And then you can put it on your website. You can have pictures of you from Pee Wee all the way to the NFL if you can make it that far, you know. So I think there's another little tag to it that make it fun. I mean, it ain't gonna change the game. It ain't gonna change the game, but
what I think, Byron,
more meaningful, huh?
By just get rid of the numbers totally. Just have the colors. The heck with it. You know, they just don't even have a number. Have everybody wear the same number, Byron. How about that? We can have 11 number 3s because these guys wore it in whatever sport they played. So we can have like 3 number 3s on defense and 11 number 10s on offense, and then the heck with it. You know, I mean, why stick to tradition? Don't do that. That's crazy.
Do they have numbers in rugby? Do they have numbers? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't know either. Last time I looked, I'm not sure.
If I had my way, it would be irrelevant. I'd make everyone an eligible wide receiver within 2 minutes of the game. Yeah.
Yes. That's a great rule, Jack. I don't know. Hey, Byron, let's get to a couple things on the draft. People, we are having our big draft special on Northeast Streaming Sports tonight of 6 through the first round. And I want to get a couple of comments from Byron on a couple things I read. There was a nice piece written on wide receiver Jalen Waddle, and of course I watched some of the video. He's from Oklahoma. He kind of reminds me of. He's a slot receiver, Byron. He's a little guy, and he kind of reminds me of Victor Cruz a little bit. He's got that burst of speed. He's got the moves. He's got good hands. I mean, the Giants are not loaded at wide receiver. They're good at wide receiver right now. But an addition like this, I mean, you've mentioned, the other Oklahoma wide receiver, but this Jalen Waddle, I mean, we got Shepard getting hurt a lot. What do you think?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I think he's a little bit faster than Victor Cruz, but they got the same body type and can do the same thing, can bring the same dimension to the game and the talent. I think he's still young, but I think he would add. He's highly rated. I mean, he's in the top 3 receivers, I think, coming out of the draft this year. And he just needs to stay healthy. But he had, I think, an ankle injury last year. But he's dynamic, no doubt about it.
I think the Giants need an edge rusher more than anyone else. But the problem there is the Giants are going number 11. And your best edge rusher might not be worth a number 11 pick. So a guy who normally would go about number 18, let's say, if the Giants take him at number 11, the Giants are kind of cheating themselves. And now if the Giants want an edge rusher that badly, now it makes sense to move down a bit, in the draft. But Dave Gettleman has never moved down as GM for whatever reason.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. The Redskins took a pass rusher, I think, in the first round. Was it last year, I think?
Chase,
but anyway,
Chase.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, maybe this class may not be as talented.
He was great. We knew he was great coming out of Ohio State there. I mean, it was obvious, he was arguably the best player in the draft. But with Joe Burrow there, you knew the Bengals would have to take Joe Burrow. But, no one mentions with the Redskins, and I'm not criticizing them, they made the right move to take Chase Young, but they could have had Justin Herbert. Now, if the Redskins, who need a franchise quarterback badly, could do it all over again, as great as Chase Young was as a rookie, and he's on track to be a Hall of Famer, that's how good he was last year, they would take Justin Herbert now because these great young quarterbacks, to get one who's going to be with you for his career, I mean, that's really the way to go, but it's like so unpredictable. Byron, I haven't heard, what's your feeling on the quarterback class this year? Who's better than who after Trevor Lawrence? Trevor Lawrence is the logical pick. Jacksonville can't get cute and go elsewhere. They're not. Urban Meyer made it pretty clear they're taking Trevor Lawrence. Now it gets to be sticky because if history tells us anything, someone is going to be outstanding in the group that's left, and someone's not going to be good at all.
Absolutely. Like I was saying a couple of weeks ago, Mac Jones' stock really came improved. Zach Wilson is going to be a great quarterback. I do believe that. And Justin Fields. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with. And then the kid from North Dakota State, Lance. So it's still 5 good quarterbacks, I think, that you could build your team around this year coming out of the draft. It's just that these guys now just a little bit more, bring a little bit more dynamic to the team, just depending on what your team philosophy is and how you want to build your offense. But I think there's still 5 good quarterbacks out there after Trevor Lawrence is leaving, after Trevor Lawrence gone.
Well, the Jets head coach says he has no pressure in building around a rookie. It looks like they're going to be going with Zach Wilson. He's been talking to former quarterbacks from the Jets in the last week who played with the Jets. I don't know about all that, Byron. I don't think this quarterback class is that strong at all after Trevor Lawrence. In fact, I don't think any of these picks are better than Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold. I think both those quarterbacks would be going before any of these quarterbacks in the draft right now. So I don't necessarily agree with you that this quarterback class is pretty good. I think it's pretty weak, to be honest with you.
Well, I think it's still going to depend on the chemistry and how much maturity these guys going to have. Some guys have been to college, 2 or 3, 4 years. It just depends on how much, how many reps they done had, as well as the maturity. But like I said, the intangible thing is the going through the training camps and being able to see how fast they can fast track and learn the game from a speedy game, because it turned up a notch when you come from college. That's for sure. And
right, because
you have to know all of your audibles and everything else, your adjustment that you have to make, and your angles and the timing of releasing that football.
Yeah, because even Mark Sanchez has a little concern about Zach Wilson, who it looks like they'll be drafting from BYU, saying that he forces the ball down the field. And of course, he played the independent schedule, not against a lot of good teams, and the good teams he played good against. the ones that had 10 wins or more, he had 1 touchdown and 7 interceptions. So, I mean, it depends on the competition, of course, you're playing against in college. And I know teams look at that, and he may be a great quarterback. I don't know. But the same thing was said about Sam Darnold when they drafted him, that he threw a lot of interceptions. So, I mean, here you go. Sam Darnold, who threw a lot of interceptions, had problems pushing the ball down the field. If they go with Zach Wilson, I guess they're drafting the same guy all over again. So that's the kind of things I'm looking at. You know what I mean? I mean, if you're going to go with Justin Fields, I can see them trying to add, a quarterback with some kind of, running. He can run with the ball better than Zach Wilson. He can maybe make plays. But then again, you get into the problem where they run before they should, and if they're young. So I don't know, Byron. I don't know if the Jets made the right decision or not, but I guess we'll find out. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah,
Well,
it's really after Trevor Lawrence. I mean, you really rolling the dice on the next 5 guys for quarterbacks. But it just depends on, like I said, Matt Jones' stock have really went up. So I don't know what he's been doing for us in the combines and so forth. But it just depends on what these teams are looking for and how they build around these quarterbacks.
Listen, last time we had something like this a few years ago, you mentioned Sam Darnold, where Baker Mayfield went number 1. We had 5 quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson was a distant 5th at that time. We had a big 4, and Lamar Jackson went number 15 overall. But when you look at the way it turned out, the number 1 overall pick, Baker Mayfield, say what you want, he is the franchise quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, and going forward, that's how he's going to be regarded, okay? And he's played well on balance, Baker Mayfield. And then you had Sam Darnold. I don't have to tell you his story, went next after him. And then you had Josh Allen has been a pleasant surprise with the Bills. He's their franchise quarterback. Then you have Josh Rosen, who's on, he was on the Ram of the 49er practice squad last I heard. Then you had Lamar Jackson, the league MVP. So 3 of the 5 worked out great. They really have. They're the quarterbacks of the future for their teams. But then you wonder, and Sam Darnold, chances are he's starting for Carolina this year. They gave up some good draft capital to get him. And then you get a Josh Rosen, and the other guys like him. Someone could get him very cheap. I mean, what could be missed on him? Why doesn't the team just pick him up and say, Josh, this is your job, be your second-string quarterback. We think you could be a great quarterback in this league. Because when someone like Troy Aikman feels Josh Rosen can still be a great quarterback, I listen to a guy like Troy Aikman. Obviously he knows a lot more about quarterbacking than I'd ever know.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I just think too it could be a confidence factor with Josh Rosen. I think maybe he hadn't been around the right team to give him the lift that he really needs. So sometimes it can be just a little thing, here and there. So yeah, I think I agree with everything you said.
Byron,
could I just ask Byron, after you're done? I got a question to ask Byron that he would know that I wouldn't know. Can I just ask this? What happens if someone is a slow learner academically, okay? They have to learn the playbook, especially a quarterback, any player. But what happens if someone is very, very slow, like in the classroom? Could that affect them a lot as a player?
No doubt. I think it affects a lot of players. So you have to have a timetable. But now you have to realize you have only 1 to 2 years to learn. You don't have a long time to make that adjustment. So you need to learn really quick. And then I think that is a factor in the NFL, how fast you can learn.
So if you're illiterate or learning disabled, that could keep you out of the league, even if you have a great attitude and great talent.
I've seen some players get released because they couldn't quite learn the playbook, no doubt. Yeah,
wow.
It is a factor.
Well, Byron, I think that we overlook too when these players, no matter, everybody who plays college football has talent. There's no doubt about it. They wouldn't be there if they don't. But I think a lot of times when they're drafted, what gets overlooked, they say, oh, he's a bad quarterback or he can't make it in the NFL, is how they develop them players when they get there. I mean, if you don't have the right coaching staff that are the right person in place that can develop that talent, I don't care if you can throw the ball through a brick wall or catch a butterfly blindfolded. It really doesn't matter. I mean, you've got to have people that can bring forth your talent and make you and have you use that talent at a higher level. I think a lot of teams don't really have that. The good teams do, but the teams that don't, that have bad records, I think they have a problem developing talent. I really do.
I think so too, because they don't have that much patience with these players no more. So it's a real small window that you have to learn, and you need to say catch a BB in the dark. Catch a BB. No, but for real though, you have to be able to go into the NFL and you have to give it 110% of focus, because it's a small window, and the talent is so thin. It's a thin line between you making it that 53-man roster and you not making it. And so they kind of know 85% of the time who's going to be on that roster at the beginning of training camp, at least the first 2 or 3 weeks. You got a pool of players over here that they can use as their project players and use on the practice roster, et cetera, et cetera. But you know who your 45 players are, premier players that you want to build your team on and go with this particular season.
Yeah, that's unless somebody totally shocks you. I mean, like Cruz did.
Victor Cruz did. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the Giants, with Gettleman is saying that with the 11th pick, they want somebody that's an impact player, right off the rip. If they go at 11, they want a Devon Smith or a Waddle or a Pitts. And as Jack said, they were talking about pass rushers. I know there's one in Miami and one in Michigan that are pretty good. Their style last year was just blitzing from all angles, and Williams had a great year. But it sure would help them if they did get a pass rusher. So I think tight end, definitely they need somebody. I mean, I know they got they ended up getting the former tight end from Minnesota Vikings and Notre Dame. He's a great tight end.
Kyle Rudolph, yeah.
Yeah, but a Pitts or something like that they could have starting within the next couple of years, or Waddle or Smith. I think that would help out the Giants a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. I think Kyle Pitt, he's gonna be on. That guy is gonna be a franchise tight end, and he don't come around kind of find that kind of talent that often. So they were saying this morning that Arizona Cardinals probably gonna move up to try to get him.
What's going on in Dallas? I mean, Stephen Jones is talking more than Jerry Jones, meaning I think there's a little disagreement, going on. I think Stephen Jones wants to concentrate on defense, and Jerry wants one of those, glamour players. That's the impression I'm getting.
Yeah. I think they probably need to go and try to get Satan, defensive back, somebody like that really can come down and shut down one side of the football field. And I just think they definitely need a defensive back.
No doubt about that. Denver says that they have 100% faith in Locke, but they're going to draft a quarterback for competition. Why would you even say that why even put it out in the press, right? If you're going to draft, why did you say I have 100%?
Well, they didn't say they were flat out going to draft a quarterback. They didn't.
Yeah, they did. They said yes, they did. They said they're in the quarterback.
No. Once you say you're going to draft a quarterback, you're weakening your position because other teams.
Jack, I'm telling you what I just read this morning. They said they're going to be in the quarterback competition, in the quarterback arena, trying to draft a quarterback for quarterback competition.
Nah, you probably read it by one of these clowns that write on the internet, one of these small sites.
I think they can draft a quarterback.
I think they will. I think you're right, but I don't think they said they were going to do it.
Listen, Jack,
I don't say have faith in
Jack, I don't care what you think. I'm telling you what I read this morning. They said they have complete faith. They have 100% faith in Drew Lock, but they're gonna be in the quarterback arena to draft somebody for competition. So that's what they said. So that's what I read, and it wasn't on an internet site.
But if they said that, if the Patriots want a quarterback, let's say, Now they're going to trade to leap up ahead of Denver. They're going to make some type of deal. Okay, so it's not good. I can't imagine tipping their hand. You want to know something? By the time they get around at the number 9 spot, Denver goes, I believe, quarterbacks are coming off the board at number 2. Wilson goes at number 3. I guess Fields or Trey Lance. And before you know it, you're talking about, what are you going to have left? You're going to have Mac Jones after that?
Listen, they said Denver may try to move up. And they also said that I've been reading where there might be 11 quarterbacks out in the first 2 rounds. I mean, this is how quarterback – it's different today where they're looking to get that rookie contract, right? If they get lucky, they get themselves a quarterback. They want to get rid of these quarterbacks that are good but not great, like a Sam Darnold, who are good because they're coming up on the contract. That's just as much a reason for them getting rid of Sam Darnold as it is they want to draft a young quarterback because that contract's coming up, and they don't want to pay him because they're not sure about him. So they'd rather go get a Zach Wilson, who they're not sure of either, and he's the same type of quarterback as Sam Darnold, but it's a rookie contract. And Byron knows that very well, being a former player. They'd rather play the cheaper rookie contract than somebody that might be good or is on his way to being good, but they're not sure of. Am I right?
Well, that's going to affect with Sam Darnold with Carolina. If Sam Darnold, this is his last year on his rookie contract, and Carolina hasn't extended him, what's that telling you guys? They're not sold on him being their franchise quarterback. The jury's still out. They want to see what Sam Darnold could do. And there's no certainty the Panthers aren't going to take a quarterback. Let's say, hypothetically, Justin Fields falls to them, and they like Justin Fields an awful lot, and he unexpectedly falls to them. I wouldn't be shocked if they picked him.
I don't know. I mean, don't they still got Teddy Bridgewater there too?
Well, Teddy Bridgewater, yeah, he's I think he's gonna be on the free agent. I thought Denver would pick him up, maybe, or somebody like that would pick up Teddy. But it's gonna be fun to watch the draft and see what these teams think, and with their draft pool, we'll see.
So Byron, let's get to some rules. Me and Jack touched on this. I've been kind of nibbling on it all week. You have the restriction on uniforms he talked about. Now they're going to have the replay official is actually going to be able to suggest that they review some plays. If something was called totally wrong on the field and there's video evidence, instead of the unreviewable plays that a coach can throw flags on, the replay official up in his booth can actually whisper in the guy's ear and tell him, hey, you might want to review this play. What do you think about that?
I just hope it don't bring a disaster to the game of watching the game for what it's worth, because sometimes we do definitely need younger referees out there making critical decisions. But sometimes you take away from the fun of the game and long, a time frame that make it boring and so forth. So, they've been trying to get it right. So hopefully, this won't hurt the game, because we don't need nothing negative to hurt the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think the game is slowed down enough with all these commercials milking every dollar they can out of them sponsors. What do you think about the limit of the players on the kickoff receiving team? Now, for the onside kick, they're going to have less players in they call it the setup box, which is, I guess, within 15 yards of the line of scrimmage where the kicking team is, the receiving team is. Sorry, Byron. So when they kick the ball, I guess they can't get a running start from the kickoff team, but there's going to be less players in the zone to give them a better chance at recovering the onside kick to add excitement. To me, Byron, again, here you go changing rules that may affect the outcome of the game, right? I mean, listen, it's bad enough that, a defensive back can't touch a wide receiver down by the end zone, so you're first and goal when you were 3rd and 50. I mean, so now you're set up to get a touchdown and 4 downs. That's bad enough to me. That's one of the worst penalties in the league. Now you're going to add another penalty to where you can actually you can't put enough all those people on in that zone anymore to prevent the onside kick. What do you think about that rule?
I don't like it personally. I just think you're gonna mess up the game trying to think it through too much. I think you just kind of keep it the way it's been meant to play. I mean, you put your talented players out there and see if they can recover that football. Or either the onside ball team go over there and try to have go over there and try to get the ball and make the game more fun. I mean, when you put people in the box, it's just what it's saying. You're not making it fun no more.
Byron, the onside kick is the most boring thing in football now. 67 onside kicks were attempted in 2020. Out of the 67, 3 were recovered. That's not exciting. That's a ridiculously low percentage. I would like a rule like this. Instead of an onside kick, a team gets the ball who wants to recover at their own 10-yard line, okay? And every play, they've got to get a first down to keep possession of the ball until they can score. As soon as they can't get a first down on a play, they lose possession of the ball, and that's that. That would be a little more exciting, you know? They'd have, in a certain sense, a fate in their own hands, but it would be a big mountain to climb. Or what I said to Mac the other day, let the first half timeouts carry over into the second half to give them a little more of a chance to, stop the clock. But then again, once a team's behind, you're penalizing the team that's ahead by giving the team behind every opportunity to get the ball back. Something seems a little unfair about that as well.
Well, I do like the timeout carryover. You can carry over your timeout. That makes more sense to me. But that's about the only thing that you said that really makes sense to me.
That was my first selection. I see, like Mac, I got a plan B, a plan C. I throw out my plan B, C, and D first. But that's my plan A. I like the timeout carryover effect.
Yeah,
3 timeouts in the first half, they could have in the second half. Because in reality, that would give your defense 2 chances to stop the offense from getting a first down before they could run out the clock, as opposed to 1 chance. In reality, that's what it is now. So
I don't know about that one, but I just like the timeout carryover. That's for sure.
yeah.
The only drawback from that is that you would have to do that for both teams, right?
Yeah.
So now if you're trying to call a timeout to stop them from scoring, then they get the ball back, and then you can call 6 timeouts. I mean, that's the only drawback. I like the idea too, because the first half timeouts normally don't mean that much. In certain circumstances, maybe, but mostly they don't. The only thing I can see is you're going to have a fast first half, and then the second half is going to be twice as long as it was before, too. So, I mean, that's the only drawback to that. But I do like that idea also. And as you see, Jack saying that I'm the one that likes rule changes. You hear he invents his own rule change.
No, listen, we don't want the games to last long. NFL games, I don't know whether you guys think they last a little too long. I think it's getting there. I don't think it's like baseball yet, where it goes on too long. But a football game used to be like a 3-hour game, and that's a good amount of time to entertain people. But once you get one of these games and it's starting to last, close to 4 hours, it's, that's a little too much already.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you figure the game has sped up a lot more. I mean, slowed down a lot more because there's a lot more passing, right? Incompletions, at times the clock stops on top of everything else. So, I mean, that is another reason why the game is going on longer, just because the passing game has become more prevalent than it was in the past. So,
well, Byron, is 45 seconds a fair amount of time on the game clock? Or the offense really needs 45 seconds, or does the defense need time to adjust in the 45 seconds? Because to me, it looks like it could be a 30-second game clock. And I think that's enough time, because the offense knows, going into the game, basically, I'm sure you'll tell me the set of plays, what you're going to run in a lot of situations. And do you think they could cut the game clock down, 30 seconds per play?
I think they should. I think they need to maybe cut it down to 40, maybe.
Yeah, 40. I
And
agree.
give it a good adequate time frame of getting in and out, getting the next plays, getting the next plays, and that might eliminate 15 minutes of time frame from games ending and being completed.
Byron,
Just in case they go into overtime, so now you got a little bit more time to wiggle the overtime games.
listen, Byron, if you save them another 15 minutes, they'll put 2 more commercials on there. I guarantee you, my friend. I guarantee you.
That's so true. I forgot about that.
So, hey, Byron, I want to
let me tell you what I'm working on. I actually working on this wristband, which you can download your whole playbook, which is supposed to, keep people from being in the huddle. And so me and another group of guys are really presenting this wristband called a Miller. A Miller meaning that you arm and your body, and you can put 3 or 4 plays at a time in there. And when the receivers are coming back from the play, they don't have to go to the huddle. And plus, since this COVID deal, you want to keep the social distancing, right? So this is a good concept. So it's also what here in Texas. We have some deaf athletes, and they don't, sometimes now they can participate in games where before communicating with deaf athletes can't participate. So this adventure and this trend technology that we're working on, I'm really excited about.
Did you get a patent on that yet, Byron?
Yeah, we have a patent on it.
Okay, I was saying, don't be announcing anything if you don't have a patent on it yet.
Oh, we got a patent on it, and I mean, can't nobody go and get it, so we covered on that. But
No, you mentioned.
We're real close to actually mass production and getting it mass produced.
That sounds exciting.
I'll tell you, in 1965, the Baltimore Colts played the Green Bay Packers to see who would go to the NFL championship game. And Johnny Unitas, he was injured. His backup, Gary Quazzo, the best backup in the league, was injured. So the only one they had to play quarterback was their halfback, Tom Matty, who last quarterbacked in high school. So what he did, that was a different era. He had a wristband in which they wrote a bunch of plays on the wristband. And he'd keep going to the huddle and looking at the wristband. And needless to say, they didn't mount much of an offense that day. They lost 13-10, the Colts, in overtime. But 7 of their points were picked up on a fumble by the defense that they ran in. It was kind of like a fun game. He was playing it like a schoolyard game, Tom Matty, then. And it shows you how far the NFL has come. Could you imagine, not in the NFL base. The wristband idea is great, especially kids to learn the way you explained it. That's a great thing, Fill us in more on that, in future shows.
Yeah, definitely.
We're excited about that. And I'll talk more about it in about a month or so, and then we'll chat more about it because I'm excited about it as well.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a great idea.
Now you do have athletes that can't go to the next level because of them having limitations and things like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it will speed up the game any because you got the audibles, hand signals, and all that stuff. But you are right that listen, you can communicate. You could, I don't know if can you send a message while you're behind center? Look at that cornerback; he came up quick, go deep. I mean, is there any limitations to this that you know of?
There's no limitation at all because you don't even go on Wi-Fi because the other team can't steal your plays either. So
right,
it's really unique. It's a unique band that they'll be on, and it just until your area within the football field, not even outside the stadium. So that's the unique part about what this.
Listen, Byron. I don't know. You watch the Patriots; they'll figure a way how to break that signal. You know how good they are at cheating. So, you got to keep your eye on them. That's all I got to say, my friend.
I know, Belichick. I tell you what.
Come on, that was unnecessary, Matt.
I know.
Yeah.
You sound like a Jet fan.
Yeah, I know.
Listen, I should accuse them. The Jets have been so far behind the Patriots. Even if the Patriots allowed the Jets to cheat and they didn't, I don't think they would have closed the gap that much.
Hey, listen, what did Vince Lombardi say? They knew what Vince Lombardi was going to run, and you had to stop it because they could execute it.
Yeah, you got to stop it.
That's right.
You have to stop it.
That's what I like about Mike Ditka with the 85 Chicago Bears. he said, I think during the season, the Packers were complaining about them something. So he said, rather than be diplomatic, if they don't like it, let them do something about it. That was Iron Mike Ditka's attitude. The heck with them. Let them be mad.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Byron, that sounds like an exciting thing. Yeah, keep us up to date on that when you come on and let us know what's going on with it. I mean, it sounds like a winner to me. So, again, Byron Williams, our NFL analyst, former New York Giant, Philadelphia Eagle wide receiver. I think you were on the Colts and the Lions, and you were all over the place anyway, Byron. And
yeah, I was everywhere. Hey,
yes.
Let me tell Jack this. My nephew, I'm saying my grandson caught a touchdown at the Super Bowl game. So they moved him from the center and put him at the wide receiver. So he caught a touchdown, and I think they won the Super Bowl game. So I didn't have a chance to see it, but he had a touchdown catch. And that's unusual.
You know, now I'm glad you brought it up because I'd like to see a scouting report on the kid at cornerback. If he has all, the corner, that might be more viable. What do you think? Him playing cornerback as opposed to wide receiver. But Mac is still holding to the long snapper thing. That's the best. They're most in demand, long snappers.
I tell you what, only on the East Coast. I guess until I move back on the East Coast, maybe I'll be thinking like you guys. So
let me tell you something. If you got to that point with the Cowboys looking at him, Stephen Jones would be looking at the long snappers. At least Jerry Jones, he'd have his attention.
I know. I'm sneaking note that Jerry Jones probably can say, hey, my grandson for wide receiver.
Yes. Yeah, definitely, Byron. I would do that too.
Yeah,
hey,
but listen, the big test is when he cuts the middle, Byron. That's what you've got to teach. That can't get avoided. Sooner or later, he's going to have to come up across the middle, and you're going to have to sit him down and tell him what to expect, and he might not like it.
Well, I got a picture of me getting my jaw broken against the Redskins, so I know what that means.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So, yeah. Byron, it sounds like a proud grandfather like you should be. I would be too. So have a great day, Byron, a great weekend, as a matter of fact. And, again, keep us up to date on that. And is your grandson done playing for you? That's it?
Yeah, he's playing baseball now.
Okay. Hey, listen, that's where the money's at, Byron.
What position?
They got him at third base.
Hot corner, the hot corner. That's why I put him.
Okay. So he's hitting from the left side.
Oh, okay, cool.
Hey, Yankee.
I was a lefty too. It didn't get me anywhere, but my dream ended when I was 17. I was cut by a big league scout, though, so that was good at least.
Hey, listen, I'm in touch with the Yankees. Their management up there. I get quite a few things from their PR department. I've been in conference calls with Cashman. I'll put in a word for your son. I mean, left-handed, short right porch for your grandson. I'll let him know he's out there doing his thing.
That's great. Hey, we appreciate that. It's all who you know.
Yes, it is, Byron. It sure is. Again, Byron, have a great weekend. Thank you for coming on.
Good job, Byron.
Take care.
Okay.
There you go. Byron Williams back in the saddle on the Mac and Jack Show. Always a pleasure having him on. Folks, we're going to have Keith Angle, sports broadcaster from TGI Sports Talk. He'll be coming up right after a show in a few minutes, so we'll have him right after the break. Please stick with us, and we'll be right back very soon, guys. So thanks for taking a few minutes and waiting for us to come back.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things.
I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink? Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Info Line. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Now we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's the first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Really? You know, a lot of kids try at the same stuff.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Oh, they hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Try.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, live Wednesdays through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. Facebook, YouTube, sometimes on Zodiac, we're on Instagram, Twitter, Jack, we're all over the place. And we just had Byron Williams on our show, giving us our NFL update. And coming up, in fact, he's backstage right now. We got our friend from TGI Sports, who just finished up his show over there, Keith Angle, who gives us a lot of great sports information and updates. So let's bring on Keith Angle right now. How you doing, Keith? We're all over the place. And we just had Byron Williams on our show, giving us our NFL update. Hello, Keith. In fact, he's
This is delayed tape.
I'm behind. I'm screwed up because I still got you playing on my other screen here. Hold on.
I mean, not only doing this show, but watching our show at the same time. I mean, this man is talented, more talented than anybody on the network, Jack. I'm telling you.
In other words, you're saying Keith listens to our show to get the information to use on his show? Is that what you're saying, Matt? I don't believe that to be the case. You're revealing something.
I don't know. Keith always surprises me. I mean, he comes on and he's watching different shows and he's texting me and he has messages going. I mean, he's working the boards. This man works the boards, Jack.
Yeah, I don't multitask the way I used to, I can tell you, since I turned 60. But
well,
I do the best I can.
60. You only look 59, Keith. I mean,
thank you. I'll be 61 soon.
Yes.
I'm chasing Jack as fast as I can.
Well, you guys look a lot alike now. You guys look like. I mean, you guys are looking the glass. The only thing is somebody's got to change your glasses, and I won't be able to tell you two apart.
I hope I get the referral fee for when you went to my hairstylist, Jack, this past week. So.
Jack is talking, but he's not saying.
You get these good discounts here. I mean, I find the right hairstylist I kind of scout the prices out, and and I get the best deal I can.
You're looking
Basically,
like-
at this point, I don't think it's a hairstylist. It's like a barber. I just say cut it short. You know what I have. So that's basically my strategy. Is simple when I get my hair cut.
I've been there for about 25 years. I get it.
So, Keith, a lot of things happening in sports. We had Byron and I were talking about the rule changes in the NFL and a little bit about the draft. But with you, I want to get to first. I want to get to the Yankees. All right, and the Yankees, of course, as we know, are in last place. They've had a rough year so far. I mean, to say the least. They did win yesterday, and the New York papers acting like they're going to make a run of this World Series right now. They beat the Indians 6-3. They're thinking it's the beginning, but Herman came in. He did pitch pretty good. There was one error by Gardner that gave up one of the runs when it popped out of his glove. So right now they're 7-11. But let's face it. They beat the Indians. They didn't beat the Rays. They didn't beat a team that's is probably gonna be in the playoffs. He gives Sanchez a rest as DH. I don't know why he gets rest. Torres had to be talked to for not.
I got a couple good reasons, but
Torres got a talking to about not running out a grounder. The kid is in his third year or something crazy. I don't know why he's not running out grounders. Me and Jack have discussed this ad nausea because, of course, we're both Yankee fans. And the thing that concerns me most about this year is that there's no plan to me. Never mind a backup plan. There's no real plan. I remember when the Yankees were good, they always had a backup plan if somebody got hurt or something wasn't going right. They don't seem to have that anymore. And I still think the Yankees aren't making the playoffs, and we'll find out in the next 4 games, right? They got games, the 3 games left with the Indians. They got 4 games with Baltimore. If they can't go 6-2 or 5-1 against these guys and go 500, I still think I'm not buying into the Yankees yet.
Well, I agree. Well, first of all, I don't think we should sell the Yankees week short. They did have 2 one-game winning streaks this week, so big deal. And it's not just those games. The next 10, Detroit's included in there too. So they need to go on a run here. They need an 8-2 run. They need something. And you know what? Yes, it's funny. One good game last night, and the media is like, "This is the game the Yankees needed. We're going to turn everything around." The problems that are still there. The whole Torres thing the other day, and I was going to mention it when I did the update the other day, and I didn't get to it. But again, this is not something that's been one of this kid's problems in the past. He's played the game the right way. My problems are not with Gleyber Torres and his approach, but I think the whole shortstop thing is really weighing on him at the plate, and I think it affected him now with his effort. And I think it's too much for him to handle. I really do, and I think that's part of it. And there's still, I don't care, one good game against Cleveland, as you said, Mac, doesn't make up for all the faults that are still there. I don't think Sanchez is not catching last night for a reason, because the pitchers pitch better to Higgy. They just do. You notice he hasn't come to Cole since opening day.
And what is this resting the DH? What are you talking about resting a DH? This is your guy. I mean, what did he hurt himself swinging the bat? I mean, is it that exhausting for him? I mean, come on, this guy was supposed to be the next coming of
No, it's just Mac. It's a diplomatic way of saying things. They don't want to say we're sitting Stanton down because we want to give someone else an opportunity to DH who could be a little more productive short term. So they use the word rest. It allows the player to save a little more face, as far as scrutiny from the media. That's all it is.
I'm really tired of saving players' faces, to be honest with you. I'm tired. And Boone, I was glad Boone went off a little bit last weekend, after the horror show in the first game against Tampa Bay. And he kind of held the players' feet to the fire for the first time. Maybe not in the press, but at least in the clubhouse. But I'm tired of him putting rose-colored glasses on every night in his press conference and hold these. I don't care about whether guys are happy and being diplomatic. start playing ball, and you won't have to worry about the manager ripping you after the game. We're too diplomatic. It's like everything else. We're just too diplomatic about everything. We don't want to hurt his feelings. Well, we're paying you a boatload of money. I don't care about your feelings. Go out and perform.
Well, that said, guys, I think we're overreacting right now. I mean, I picked the Yankees to sneak in as a wild card team and not go far in the playoffs. That was my prediction. It's early on. They're only 4 games out of first place. In reality, it's 2.5 games because the Red Sox in first place, and the Red Sox aren't going to be there in a couple of months. Maybe not even in a couple of weeks. So they're 2.5 games behind the Rays, okay? Those are the teams they have to focus on, the Blue Jays and the Rays, not to let too much distance get, between them. They're not in a bad spot, the Yankees, right now. They've just been playing very poorly. They've been downright boring. They haven't hit. The defense has been sloppy. They just have to improve the way they play. I don't think there's panic like you're saying, Mac. If they don't do this in the next couple of series, it's going to be a long season. Just keep contact with the leaders. Don't let them get too far ahead. Keep them within your sights, and eventually the Yankees are going to go on a surge at some point of the season.
I just don't know.
I agree with Jack that again, it's New York. Everything's magnified, right? But again, there's going to come a certain point in time, especially these next 10 games. You don't perform well, then there's big problems, and they have to be addressed. You can't just keep saying, "Oh, it's a long season." I still think they'll make the playoffs right now, today. I could change my mind 2 weeks from now when these 10 games are over. My mind might be different. And I will say, Mac and Jack, I'm glad my accountant, or maybe I'm not glad my accountant didn't go to the same mathematics school as Jack, because 5 games out of first place is 5 games out of first place. I don't care how you look at it.
I agree.
I think it was 4. But it depends who
that was
you're
before
behind. You have to project who you're behind. If the LA Dodgers win the Yankees division, that's reason for a lot of concern if they've opened up a lead on you, okay? Like a team like the San Diego Padres can't allow the LA Dodgers to get too far ahead of them because there's no catching the Dodgers. They're not going to fall apart. A team like the Red Sox aren't even going to be a 500 team when it's all over. So the Yankees don't have to be, I compare to a marathon, guys. You have a runner who tears out in these big marathons. He has a huge lead after 10 miles. The trailing pack of world-class runners, they're focusing on him, but they're not concerned with him because they know he's going to fade out. He's going to fall back to the pack. So they're concerned with the guys who are closer with them, who are the real threats. Yeah. And that's the situation with the Yankees. The Yankees aren't that far back now, considering how they're playing, and it's going to get better.
You know what, Jack? I think it's okay for you and I and Mac and whoever else to think that way. I think it's very dangerous for players to think that way because you start thinking that, I got to keep up with the Rays, and all of a sudden, and again, I expect the Red Sox to fall backwards too. But if they don't, all of a sudden they're 12 games ahead of both the Rays and the Yankees, and then what?
But I'm saying we shouldn't focus on the standings so much. You should just focus on how poorly the Yankees have been playing, how they need to improve, not start talking about their records, saying, well, they're in last place and all that talk, because it's so early in the season. The standings don't have a big effect. Unless you're a team like the Colorado Rockies, who's like 8 games behind the Dodgers in the West, figuring any tiny chance they have of contending is about to go out the window.
That's a different situation.
All these teams, look at the NL East. I think the last place team is a game and a half out. And look at the Mets. I think the Mets at what are they at, 500 or so? Are they 8-8? And the only reason we're not talking about the Mets being so-so is because we're focusing on the Yankees. But the Mets, in reality, underachieved a little bit themselves.
First of all, Jack, everything you said there was questionable. I mean, you saying the Red Sox aren't going to be in first place. You don't know that. They didn't think the Kansas City Royals would be in the World Series that one time. They didn't think Detroit was going to be in the World Series that one. What you're saying there makes no sense at all. The Red Sox are in first place, period, right now, and they're playing better than 500 ball. Secondly, Secondly, yeah, we're concerned about where they are because of the way they're playing, Jack. And they have no answer. I was listening to a show on ESPN. Dibble, who was a former pitcher for the Reds, was on. And he was talking about the Yankees' approach. And not only him, a lot of people are talking about their batting approach and their approach to baseball in general. One, Stanton is not fast enough anymore to come around on a fastball that's inside on him. If it's inside on him, he's going to strike out. He can't catch a 95-plus mile-an-hour fastball in the strike zone inside of him. He can't do it. The players out there right now are not getting ready for the game. They're not going over the hitters, how they hit. They're not going over the pitchers, what kind of pitches they throw. They're like surprised up there when pitches come. They're guessing at the ball. They're not even doing scouting work on these guys that they know have sliders, that have fastballs, where they pitch, how they pitch. Should you be walking? Should you be going up first pitch swing? They're not doing that, Jack. They're up there guessing at the pitches. Even DJ LeMahieu is not having the best season yet. I know he'll warm up. I'm not worried about him. After DJ LeMahieu, who's their next best hitter, Jack? Who is it? There's no.
I just want to say about Stanton.
Urshela.
You forgot what happened in the playoffs against the Rays last year.
Stanton
Stanton was a monster. A monster during the playoffs.
Who cares? They lost the playoffs, Jack. It
But
doesn't
he
matter.
performed. He
And
was
that's one
awesome.
instance. One instance you've given me out of the last
It's
3 years.
early in the year. You've got to allow Stanton to hit.
I gotta allow Stanton to go home. That's what I gotta allow Stanton to do. I'm tired of
He's
Stanton.
signed through 2027. He's there 7 more years.
He's
No, he is contract.
oh my God. He's one of the
And not even a guy's contracted at around $25 million per year.
Please.
The
You know,
Yankees,
and no one-
they got the money. They got the money.
Listen,
Listen, going back to the standings real quick, Mac. You know, and Jack, I get your point, but this isn't 5 games into the season. This is 18 games into the season. This is more than 10% of the season has been played. By the time you play the Red Sox, 25% of the season is going to be played or more. I'm not even sure. They don't play until June. When is their sample size that is important? These games count as much now as they count in September. And if you
Francisco Lindor's a complete dud. What's he hitting? About 204, 212. He hasn't put up power numbers.
We're talking about individual guys and their numbers.
I could say that's a lousy signing for the Mets because Lindor's been a bust based
We're
on
not
the
talking
sample size.
Jack, we're not talking about the Mets right now. We're talking about the Yankees.
And it's,
Go ahead. Let's go, Keith.
Yeah, no, it's a team wide thing. It's not one guy, and there's issues with this team from the way that it's built, and that goes back to Brian Cashman, as we talked about before. I'm sorry, this team is in trouble because of the way it's put together, and 18 games is a significant part of the season. And if you miss the playoffs by 1 game, these games counted as much as the games you played in September. And you can't just give games away the way they've done this year. And you can't just ignore it and say, oh, they'll get better. And guess what? If they play like this and after these next 10 games, they're sitting where they are sitting today, Aaron Boone's in a lot of trouble, and it's not his fault necessarily. This is
it's partly his fault too, Keith.
It's partly. I'm not absolving him, but the guy who should take the fall here is Brian Cashman, and he won't. And Boone's going to be in trouble if they don't get righted by May, middle of May. They won't.
Listen, if you want to, what are we criticizing Cashman for exactly? That's what I want to know. What
the fact that he didn't improve the catcher position during the offseason, the fact that he didn't improve his shortstop situation in the middle of the offseason, the fact that Aaron Hicks has got to be our number 3 hitter.
Okay.
The fact
but
that
the catcher position hasn't been that bad. Sanchez, if you make him the backup, Sanchez isn't on a mega contract. He's getting a few million a year. They don't have a lot of money invested in Sanchez.
Should have moved on.
Listen, it's not bad for the Indians, Jack. That's not a bad catcher for the Indians. We're talking about a team that was favored to go to the World Series in the beginning of the year, that's been in the playoffs the last I don't know how many years, and they haven't improved since George Steinbrenner's passed.
Blame Hal Steinbrenner. Cashman's got to work with what he's allowed to spend, okay, as well. And there's the luxury tax. We're going to talk, Carlos mentions Clint Frazier. We're going to talk, one of our questions on the debate show tomorrow, I'm not giving my answer, Mac won't give his. Who's the most overrated current Yankee player? That's going to be a debate that I'm going to have with Mac.
Well, I got a few guys I can throw in that category.
Absolutely. One of the things too, Corey Kluber, he didn't pitch bad a couple of nights ago. He was, really better. The Yankees are counting heavily on him to get back his old form. Talent from Pittsburgh. It's iffy.
Games though, they got to get deeper in the games. They just do, or the bullpen's.
They're going to reinforcements are coming back. Zach Britton's going to come back. Luis Severino's going to come back. Luke Voigt's going to come back. Those guys are going to make a positive difference when they do.
Agreed. But again, you can't just let this hole sit here till June when the weather gets better, and you hope the team's going to get hot too. But I don't know.
Listen, I just know it's a good thing the Yankees aren't in the National League, because the National League, I don't know, the Yankees would be like 1 in whatever. The National League's a lot better than the American League, that's for sure this year.
Yeah.
And I just don't see, if they don't make some sort of move where they start beating teams that they're supposed to beat and on the regular with just their supposedly the best talent supposedly in the American League, people were saying, if they don't start making a move soon, I mean, I'm not buying into the Yankees this year or next year right now, because they really don't have any kind of plan in place that I can see of anyway, where they're bringing players that are at least bench players that could fill in like the great Yankee teams had before. And right now, I don't see any kind of plan. I don't see any kind of structure. And I don't see anybody really wanting.
Let me tell you for next year, part of it too, guys, we think too much about this year. Believe me, Brian Cashman has a vision for next year. Next year, the shortstop market is going to be great. Okay,
Maybe.
Great. Corey Seager, Carlos Correa, they're going to be guys out there. And the Yankees are, if I know the Yankees where they do business, they're going to sign one of them, move Gleyber Torres to second, LeMayo to first. There's a plan in place. They really are. They're not going to leave the shortstop position like this long term with Gleyber Torres.
That doesn't mean we got to punt 2021, though. I mean, based on what you're saying, he doesn't care what happens in 2021 because he didn't address these issues this year.
And he didn't address them last year. Remember when he said we're rolling with what we got? I remember them words coming out of his mouth last year. We are what we are. We're rolling what we got, when they didn't pick up any pitchers or anything. And this year they had a couple good catchers on the market. One got signed by the Mets. The other one stayed with his team. So, I mean, and I think we all can agree that Sanchez has definitely not lived up to his billing.
No.
So,
and this isn't just this year, Jack. Let's not forget, this team is like a 500 or a game under 500 since last year, the start of last year. And again, last year was what it was, but still, the numbers count. And in their last 75 or 80 games, they're barely 500 or below it. And without Garrett Cole, they're well below 500.
I agree.
So this isn't this year. This has gone on for a while.
I definitely agree with it. Let's go to some funner news. The Knicks.
That's fun.
Yes, it is. So let's see, 8 in a row. They're in 4th place. Team playing more together. Randall, who we all said, well, not all of us, but me and you thought he could be an all-star in the beginning of the year. Jack was on the fence. He's come over.
He got there.
Yeah, I think, and I've mentioned this to a few people on the shows before, I think he's in the MVP discussion this year. If you're gonna talk about a guy on a team, without him there, they wouldn't be as nowhere close as good. I would put Randall in that discussion. We know Embiid's in there. We know that Giannis will probably be. There'll be a few players in there, but with his stats, being the leader, I mean, he's the leader of the Knicks. There's no doubt about it. With his stats, with those 30-something points a game, 12 to 13 rebounds a game, and without him, if you're going to see the most valuable player, a guy in the NBA, that team wouldn't be as close as his. I don't think the Knicks would be in the top 10 without him. I think he should be in this. I think he should be in the discussion.
I don't disagree. If you're going to put Giannis in there, you got to put Randall in there. I mean, these teams are very much alike right now, and it's going to depend whether he gets in a conversation deeper. Mac is going to depend on how they finish up these last I don't know what they got left, 14 games or whatever. It's going to depend a lot on where they finish. I'll tell you what, if they finish fourth in the East, then he should get really heavy consideration. And Carlos will go off on this, but I'll give him a chance to I'll tee him up. Tibbs is the coach of the year in the NBA. Sorry.
Part of it's perception. I understand what you guys are saying. Who's more valuable to their team? That should be the sole criteria. But if you pair up Embiid against Randall in the MVP race, voters can't help but think that if you had your choice to have either one on your team, unanimously they take Embiid over Randall. We all would. Listen, if the Sixers called up and offered the Knicks a deal, Randall for Embiid, the Knicks would jump on the deal. In all due respect to Randall.
Not so
but
sure.
Come on.
Embiid doesn't. First of all,
the Sixers wouldn't do it in their right mind. I mean, Embiid is a better player, but Randall, I understand what you're saying. You can make an argument he's the most valuable player because if he wasn't with the Knicks, wow, where would the Knicks be? Think of it, okay? They would have the 20 the coach is the main reason, and Randall, Randall's a major reason as a player, obviously.
Yeah,
yes, which Thibodeau has a lot to do with. To Carlos's dismay, I told Carlos in one of our conversations recently that the only way either one of us is ever going to get proved right is either Tibbs wins a championship or he gets fired, and that's until now. Until then, there's no reason people should be calling for Thibodeau to get fired. It's amazing to me.
Well, that's
a conversation.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, Keith. So listen, me and Jack
Carlos is just pushing our buttons. That's what
me and Jack. I agree right now at this current date that Embiid might be a little bit better than Randall. Of course, it's two different positions too. You got to take that in consideration. One plays center, the other one plays forward.
Exactly.
But I think I'd give Embiid the edge in best player, but most valuable player, I'm not too sure. And of course, the season is not over yet. Randall plays more minutes than Embiid, that's for sure. I mean, he's always on the court where Embiid takes days off. But I think me and Jack talked, and I think in a 7-game series, even a 5-game series, the Knicks might give the Nets problems. They might give the Sixers problems. In fact, they probably would. But both of those teams would probably beat the Knicks. I think that if the Knicks got in a 5-game series or 7-game series with the Bucks, I think they'd have a good shot at winning that. I really believe that.
Yeah, the Bucks or anybody below them, they got a chance to win, right? So that's why finishing, in the 6th spot minimum, right? You're going to play the Bucks most likely if you finish in the 6th spot. And by the way, guys, let's not write them totally out of that 3rd spot because they're only 3 games behind the Bucks. I know there's not a lot of games left, but I think they would win a tiebreaker against the Bucks. I'm not positive with that, but I think the Knicks have a good chance to win at least one series. All of a sudden, we've gone from being happy they got into the playoffs to now we might be disappointed if they don't win one.
Yeah, the expectations go up. The expectations go up as long as you're winning, which you're supposed to, Keith, right? I mean, you want
8 straight games, and we had this conversation a week ago where Jack, I was talking about how the Knicks could be finishing 4th, and I know Jack was trumpeting the Hawks, and so they beat that Hawk team that's been playing really, really good basketball. That might be the best team they beat during this 8-game stretch, but 8 games.
Yeah, but keep in mind the Knicks are barely in 4th place, and when a team like the Knicks goes on a run like that, winning 8 in a row, chances are they're going to slide back a bit. I'll be shocked if they could stay in the 4th position. It's important, but the key thing is to stay in the top 6 and not have that mini playoff or whatever you want to call it with teams 7 to 10.
I agree that's key, but again, I don't think they need to settle for 6 at this point with 14 games left and they're in 4th place. I would think they want to stay there because they got home court advantage in that first round if they.
Well, let me give you the next 4 games, and I think they can win 3 out of these 4 easily. You got the Raptors, you got the Suns, which will be very tough. the Bulls and the Rockets. I think they can win 3 out of those 4 games. And if they win 3 out of those,
Raptors have been playing well recently. Okay,
Yeah,
the
so
Raptors are trying to get that final, top 10 spot to be in the mini playoff. So the Raptor game's far from a gimme.
3 of those
And
games.
the Bulls also are trying to get a top 10 spot. So those aren't gimmies. The Houston Rockets, you'd think would be a gimme unless the Knicks are totally off. But at this point in the season, there are very few games you could just think to put a check in the win column. I mean, none you can hypothetically, but the Rockets are very weak, but the other teams have something to play for as well as the Nets.
Look, these 3 of these 4 games, the first 3 of these games are at the Garden too, which is huge. You can't discount. The Knicks have played well. Even with the few people that are in the Garden, the place is energized. Imagine if that was full capacity, what it would be like there right now. It would be unbelievable. And these games are important as well because next 3 are at home, and then they're playing like 6 in a row on the road. So for them to continue this momentum, what kind of Jack talked about them potentially sliding back, these games are huge. These next 3 games, I think, are huge because they've got those. That's a long stretch on the road in the NBA. So.
Listen, I agree, but as Jack said, you can't check anything off, and I agree with that. But it's better than playing the Clippers, the 76ers, and the Nets in the next 4 games. They have a chance.
Guys, look who's right behind the Knicks at this moment: Atlanta, Boston, and Miami.
Who they all
solid teams, good teams that have a lot of upside. And believe me, they're taking a look and they're going to want to get that 4th position. And, and for the Knicks to keep this roll going the rest of the way, it's going to be hard. I think they're going to slide back. My fear is I don't want to see them slide back out of the top 6. If I could make a deal with the Knicks now and be guaranteed a top 6 position, I would make that deal right now. I wouldn't be greedy and say, no, I want the 4th spot, no deal.
No, again, I don't think I don't think they have to get that 4th spot. It would really be nice, obviously. I don't see them slipping back. The key is going to be on that road trip. They've got a West Coast trip yet to play the Clippers and play the Lakers who are getting healthy. And they're going to – I don't know who else they play out there. San Antonio hasn't played bad. They got Phoenix again. They got them at home, and then they got them later on the road. They got Denver yet on the road. So, yeah, it's going to be very tough to hold that 4th spot. And that's why these next 3 games are really important for the next.
This is what I mean by slipping, too. If they slip now, they may slip further when they go out west. And that's what I say right now. They got to keep pushing and kind of get that. Keith, we're going to take a quick break. Can you stay with us as we come back on the other side?
Sure.
Okay, great. So we'll take our quick break. We'll be back to discuss a little college, a little Patriots, and with you before we jump off and finish the rest of the show. So we're going to take a quick break, folks. We'll be back with Keith Angle with a lot more great sports. Please stick with us.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's the first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's gonna be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he gonna know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Try.
Having a little fun with my videos, folks. That's me. This is the Mac and Jack Sports Show with your host, Mac, your co-host, Jack Hirsch. We're on Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. We have our special guest in here today, Keith Angle, who joins us every Friday after he does his show over there at TGI Sports. I'll take care of a quick few things of business here. As you know, as we said, this is Mac and Jack Sports Show. We are on Northeast Streaming Sports. Go over there and check it out. A lot of great shows. Keith is part of the network also over there. Check us out on YouTube. If you could, check it out. Subscribe there for us so we can keep growing, bringing you bigger and better guests and information to you. The more we grow, the more guests that we can get on, even though we do get our share of great guests anyway. And please share our Facebook page where we do a lot of our shows. You can see them all there again. And we try to keep you entertained for 24 hours. And if you can't make it to a screen, well, we're all there on iHeart, iTunes, Pandora, Spotify. So if you can't get to a screen during the week, get to there and then take a listen while you're at work or in the car or whatever you're doing. And so that's our little things I want to take care of. Keith, we just finished up with some bad talk and some good talk. Let's move to the NCAA, a new rule I want to talk to you about because I haven't touched it with you. I don't think anyway. Recently, they made a rule that you can transfer from college to college and start that year. You know, you had to wait a year before. How do you like that rule?
I don't like it. There's a lot of people that do. They feel like if coaches can move, why can't players? But I don't like it. I mean, it opens up a lot of. And there's no repercussions for anything. You don't like. You don't like your playing time. You don't like the coach. You don't like this. You don't like that. You can move, and not sit out a year, as you mentioned. It also opens up the door, though, for tampering from other schools and coaches. You know, we have enough scandals in college basketball without opening this door, where coaches can kind of manipulate players and kind of get them to. Influence them to move on from where they are for whatever reason. And I guarantee you that if this continues past this year, I mean, I think there's almost 2,000 players I don't know the exact number, but I mean, weeks ago it was at 1,200. I mean, there could be 2,000 players in the transfer pool for all I know. And it's again, part of the problem with college basketball is the fact that people can't identify with the teams because players don't stick around. Mac, you and I have talked about this in the past, how you had lost some interest over the years because of that, because the guy leaving to go to the NBA. Well, this just I won't even try to say the word again. I'll say it makes the situation worse. And again, I think it opens up the door for more scandal, and this game doesn't need more scandal, believe me.
Well, to argue the other side, you have a lot of players that go to huge schools because they want the publicity, they want a shot at winning the championship. Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State have a huge advantage of a lot of schools. They get there and they can't break through. So doesn't this let the other schools, and I'm talking right now as far as football goes, doesn't it give the other schools a better shot at getting better players and better players getting a shot to play more? I know a running back, I'm friends with his mother. His last name is Leak. I'm trying to remember his first name right now. He played for Maryland. He was behind the starter. The starter got drafted. He came out early, and because of his agent, had an unbelievable preseason. Every time he touched the ball at Maryland, he got 7 yards per carry. He could return. He was a dynamite running back. But because the coach wanted to go with this particular running back, he didn't get as much playing time as he could have. And to me, he was just as dynamic as him. And if he was able to go to another school, maybe he would have been drafted, Keith. So how about that side of the coin?
Well, there's some validity to that for sure. I mean, but again, there's a lot of guys who get drafted that never hardly play in college at all. There's kids on Alabama and Notre Dame, well, maybe not Notre Dame, but the top schools, Clemson, they're the second and third string running backs and wide receivers, and they get drafted in the early rounds and they've never hardly played in college. So they're still getting film on these guys. So that they can make assessments on them. Is it film in games? And no. So I get that. And in a way, I get the argument that you're restricting the movement, but you don't do the same. It's hypocritical. Like coaches just come and go as they want with 5, 6, 7 years left on their contract. I mean, I understand that point of view. I just don't like the optics of what could happen here as far as coaches and recruiters and other people who are friends of programs, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, boosters.
Boosters.
I disagree with you guys. Listen, if someone is not happy, a student at a school, he should be allowed to go elsewhere. If he doesn't like how he's being used on the team, and he wants to go to another school, let him go to another school. I mean, come on, we're talking about college sports here. I know what you're saying, Keith. You're concerned about the tampering rules. That's always going to be a problem no matter what. I mean, just crack down extra hard on that if anyone has any communication with another player from another school, period, they're going to be suspended or banned for the year, whatever. Just deal with it that way and don't look the other way. And then again, they're all doing it with the big programs as is. Tampering goes on all the time. I mean, that's not going to all of a sudden disappear. And I just think it's wrong. You said it best. If a student, if a coach, can go elsewhere when he's under contract, but a player can't, he's being inhibited. That's really pretty hypocritical.
Well, most of these guys who are really good have got huge buyouts anyway, so it's going to cost money for somebody to get them. So it's not exactly apples to apples. But I was just going to go somewhere and I lost my train of thought now when I got on that one. As far as the players, the 1 year, the 1 year, having to sit out that 1 year is kind of a governor, and it slows down the tampering. It slows down kids making rash decisions, because guess what? Not every kid moves to a better situation either. That's the flip side of this. It looks good to begin with, but maybe they've been better off and got better prepared for the pros by staying at Alabama and getting that type of competition in the practices that they get, and they would be better served that way. So we don't. Again, not every situation is going to be the same, and they're all going to benefit by moving.
Well, let's talk about a specific example, right? Joe Burrows. Let's just talk about him for a minute.
Yeah.
He didn't move That guy is not being drafted number one, and he might have never saw the field. So, I mean, well, listen, I mean, yeah, he did sit the year out, but why should he have? I mean, this guy is talented enough to go and play at a higher level than any college quarterback in history, or at least in the top three. And now you're going to say to him, well, you made your decision. You can change your major if you want. I mean, you can change your minor to major. You can drop your whatever you want to do there, but you can't go to another team. I don't know if that's right or not, Keith. And it's only one time that they can do this. It's not like they can keep moving from team to team. So I understand what you're saying, and yeah, that does open the door for more behind the scenes tampering, and you don't find out everything. And I don't care what anybody says to maybe years later if you do, and then then you end up penalizing the school for something that they had they had nothing to do with. But getting back to the point, you might never have saw Joe Burrows at his best. He may never have gotten drafted. I mean, that's a possibility. And is it fair that Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson, is it fair that they get the first pick of recruiting too? So there's unfairness everywhere is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Given the
they're going to get the first pick of those kids in the transfer portal too, by the way. So
I'll tell you right now, if the kid wants to play and he's going to Alabama when they already got talent, the odds are better to go into a smaller school. And I don't mean like a Division II. I'm talking like a Tennessee or something where he'll have a chance to play.
Well, look at Jalen Hurts. He transferred out of Alabama to Oklahoma.
Yeah, but he used up his he could have it's a different situation because he had a year of eligibility left and he graduated from Alabama. So that's a different that's a totally different rule. So and I don't even know.
Just think of it. He graduated from Alabama, but was still allowed to play college football.
Yeah, I don't say I agree with that rule either. But the difference is there he fulfilled his commitment to Alabama. That's another thing that I don't like.
And then Alabama fulfilled their commitment to him. He was there to play starting quarterback. He lost the position. And, if a player's recruited, a lot of these players are recruited with a lot of promises, and the university doesn't always fulfill those promises. They might not like the way he performs. All of a sudden, he's second or third string. He should be allowed to go elsewhere. Matt points out the Joe Burrow situation. He shouldn't have had to sit out a full year. Shouldn't have had to waste a year like that.
I don't like the message it sends that kids don't need to fulfill commitments that they make. It's a problem in this country, in the society that we live in today, that nobody's held to. And again,
the schools are making commitments to the kids that they're not keeping. So then they should be allowed to move on.
The only commitment the school should be held to is giving them that 4-year free ride to get an education. And if they don't make a starting position, and even though they were promised it because somebody played better, well, that's the way life is. And kids can learn a lesson from that too.
Sometimes it's a personality conflict. Sometimes it's a personality conflict with the coach. So the coach shouldn't be allowed to alter the kid's life in that sense long term. And if the kid's totally not getting along with the coach and he's miserable there, utterly miserable, he should be allowed to go elsewhere. And the idea, you're punishing him by saying you got to sit out a year now.
There are life
he goes to another school.
There's life lessons to be learned in these situations for kids. Most of these kids we're talking about aren't going to the NFL or the NBA anyway. They just aren't. And so we teach them that they don't need to fulfill commitments. And if you don't like something, just chuck it away and move on to the next thing. And again,
the coaches are showing them you don't have to fulfill commitments.
I'm not
saying
How many
times have they recruited a kid and then they know they're going elsewhere? They give a nice sales pitch and the kid goes to the university based on what the coach is saying and he goes, elsewhere.
I don't have a problem with allowing this type of rule to take place under certain circumstances. If a coach recruited you and leaves, you should be able to leave without penalty. That part I agree.
But how about if the coach doesn't recruit you as hard because he is going to another school and he doesn't want you to be on that team? He wants you to be on the future team.
Well,
listen, I agree with what you're saying to a large extent. I'm just saying that there's I don't know if there's a right answer to it because I agree with a lot of what you just said there. I agree that we do patronize people way too much today in sports, and I think that we make it very easy for them to give up on things where you couldn't before, and that was the end of the story. So you lived with it. I'm just saying that there are certain circumstances, and you bring up the coach as well. If he doesn't have to fulfill his contract, and you say, well, we're going to teach kids that they got to fulfill their contract, where here's an adult not fulfilling his contract. So, I mean, you're sending a mixed message to begin with. You're saying, okay, you got to stay here, but the head coach doesn't have to, or the athletic director doesn't have to, or hell, we don't even have to stay in the same division anymore because this is all I'm saying, Keith. I mean, it's kind of hypocritical is all I'm saying. But I do agree with a lot what you said there. I really do.
Yeah, I don't agree. There's mixed message. There's definitely mixed messages being sent. I just feel strongly that just letting kids do whatever they want to do is not the best policy.
And I agree with that too. I agree with that too. But until the adults start acting like adults, how can we expect the kids to act like adults?
Now you're asking for a lot.
I know, right? So let's get to the past before we go. We're getting short on time. Julie Edelman, he joins the cast Inside NFL. Good for him. I'm glad he got himself a gig. There's a little bit of an article I read about Bill Belichick, all right? And, he actually met with Corey Dillon in secret at a Rocky Hill hotel in Connecticut. Of course, Corey Dillon was a big reason for their last Super Bowl win.
Last Super Bowl win. Corey Dillon?
Yes.
Not the last Super Bowl win.
Well, what was the last Super Bowl one, Keith? 2001. Yeah.
Corey Dillon wasn't on that team. Who we talk? Do you have your names mixed up? Corey Dillon played about 10 years ago or more.
Anyway, he was responsible for winning the Super Bowl. Maybe I misread it. He was responsible for winning the Super Bowl wins. He had a great year. It goes to show that there are certain coaches, we think that they just have a set thing they do, right? The scouts go out, they do this, they interview, they have the agent talk to the agent. There's things done behind the scenes that we don't even know about. These meetings that happen. Corey ended up taking a pay cut to be with the Patriots, if I remember correctly. So it goes to show that even people that would want to play on the Patriots just because of the organization or any team, there are things done that we don't even know about that don't come out till years later.
Yeah, I think, and I don't think the coaches get involved in every single situation, right? But if the coach really wants somebody and they want them to know that they're wanted and why they want them to come and play for less money and what they can expect when they get there, then I think Bill Belichick and any head coach would get involved. I mean,
hey guys, I'm a little lost here. He met Corey Dillon in the hotel room for what?
To have him come to the team, Jack.
Yeah, to recruit. Yeah.
To help be part of the Patriot organization.
Right, the running back.
Why would he have to meet in secret for that? I mean, are people tailing Bill Belichick to see who he meets? That's not that revealing. It's not like he's meeting with I could understand he's meeting with Nick Saban. That's a little bit news. Maybe one of the Alabama guys. I don't think meeting Corey Dillon's exactly earth-shattering. It's like who cares? You don't have to meet him in secret.
Well, he did, Jack. For some reason, he met him in secret. He didn't meet him at the complex at all. I don't know if that might be considered tampering or not. I don't know.
It depends on when the timeline was, whether it was tampering.
Exactly.
If he's meeting with Justin Fields in a private meeting in a corner coffee shop, that perks my interest a bit more.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I'm just saying that there are things that are done that we really don't even know about it. We think we have it figured out how these things work. And we really don't. To actually drive down to Connecticut from Massachusetts and to meet a guy that's flying in from another state.
It's a 1 hour drive, Mac.
Yes, it is.
Maybe I was going shopping that day, Bill Belichick, because what the heck? I'll do a few things at once in the area. I mean, come on.
I think Belichick will do what he needs to do to get the guy he wants. So,
yes. So again, the Patriots news: are they trading back? Are they going to go get a quarterback? Are they? We don't know.
Conjecture. It's all conjecture.
But
you know?
we will be making our thoughts known on the draft show that's coming up the 29th of April from 6th through the first round, folks. Get over to Northeast Streaming Sports, the Facebook page or YouTube to check it out. It's going to be a great show live. Reporter from the draft who will be checking in with us. We'll also have a lot of great guest show hosts, a couple NFL players that we'll throw in there for just to put the icing on top of the cake. We'll start early.
Extra naps in there, Jack.
Yes. I will. We will have to have an extra long break for Jack about halfway through. Maybe a boxing match might be on. He has to cover too. Who knows?
You'll need a haircut by the time.
I want to say the Jets are taking at number 23. There's no suspense. They're going with Zach Wilson at number 2. It's not the most exciting. Now, what excites me about the draft, someone is going to make a big deal that day. So it's hard to prepare exactly what something very unpredictable is going to happen. I have no clue what it's going to be, but I have a feeling someone's making that big major deal.
Yes.
I'm going to predict that the Jets go past their allotted time and they don't get their pick in at 3. They lose out on Zach Wilson. The clock expires and they have to pick the third.
And that might turn out to be a blessing in disguise. Now, that's not going to happen in this day and age. It would be a scandal.
It happened to the Vikings only a few years back.
That wasn't a first-round pick that high.
It was like it was 15 or 16, I think. I feel.
Yeah, it was up there. It was up there.
That wasn't a first-round pick.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
I can't see that. I can't.
I'd have to look it up. I could be misremembering.
I can't see the NFL allowing that. That would be bad for football. Terrible.
I'm only kidding, Jack. I don't see that happen. And that was
that's a fiasco.
They'll be drafting a quarterback who's exactly the same quarterback that they just got rid of. So, guys, that's it. That is it for our. I don't know why I got that on, but again, I'm having fun. I want to thank Keith for coming in.
By the way.
I want to thank Keith for coming in. Great show, guys. We'll be back tomorrow with our Mac and Jack debate show. Some great topics. Hope you join us 8 to 10 a.m. Check out Keith Angle at TGI Sports. We're both on Northeast Streaming Sports. Check that out, too, for a lot of great shows. Thank you for stopping in today, folks. Have a great Friday, and we'll see you tomorrow.